Hey everybody, Ryan from WrestleWatch here. AEW Dynasty was 2 nights ago and saw the beginning of the Owen Hart Foundation Tournament. I thought with the 3 matches in the books that it's high time I got around to, doing my picks for the tournament for the men's and women's Owen Cup this year. Just like last year, the winner will be going to All In to face the men's and women's world champions respectively. And so I'm going to have an eye on who is holding the belts right now and gaming out how the tournaments will progress. With the tournaments now started, and therefore the number 1 contenders, it makes it logical that you would want to keep the world champions the same, so I think that Jon Moxley and Toni Storm will be the world champions going into All In, and that's just the end of that part of the story. This video is going to focus on the women's side because I think it's far more chaotic than the men's side in a good way. There are multiple options to go up against Toni Storm at All In. The way her character is working right now can match up with anybody in the tournament very well. I think that this is the peak iteration of the timeless Toni Storm gimmick. It's not just a, old Hollywood heel kind of thing. It is somebody that is doing great match work and having a great character that works with whoever she's going up against, and I'm excited to see any woman that is currently in the Owen Hart Cup tournament to go up against her at All In. If you like this video, drop a like down below, and if you think my idea for where the Owen will be going is crazy, how about you like it anyway and leave a comment about how dumb I am. This is the internet after all. How about we jump in by starting off with the big stories headed into the tournament, because that is how things are going to get framed, I think, from here forward. We have Mercedes and Athena in a rivalry which included Billie Starkz getting an excellent challenge for the TBS title. And similarly, Harley Cameron is in a spot like Billie Starkz in the tournament, a young star trying to show they can hang with the top talent in AEW. We have Thunder Rosa trying to regain the championship after having to vacate it due to injury in 2022. And Rosa has been promoting AEW All In a lot in Texas, her adopted home state. Now, speaking of the state of Texas and wrestlers from Texas, of course, there is Athena, your reigning, defending, forever Ring of Honor World Champion. What better way for her to put an exclamation point on the longest ROH reign ever than to hold the AEW and ROH World titles simultaneously? Now, Kris Statlander then is trying to prove herself, and, well, she's coming off a little bit heelishly, so we might see some developments there. And then there's Jamie Hayter, who, like Thunder Rosa, had an injury that resulted in her losing the World Championship exactly 2 years ago at Double or Nothing to Toni Storm. Here we go. There's a little story there. And of course, Jamie Hayter is, she's reminding me a lot right now of Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, in that she feels like she has just such a big aura around her. She feels like a main eventer. She feels like a final boss. She feels like the guy or gal in her regard. She feels confident and dominant, and I think that that's going to play a lot into the expectations for her in the tournament and building her up to possibly going to All In. So how about we start on that left side of the bracket with Jamie Hayter versus Billie Starkz in a rematch from a couple of weeks back. I cannot see any result other than Jamie Hayter picking up the win here, and this fueling some storyline beats on the other side of the bracket for Mercedes and Athena. Spoiler alert. The other opening round match on this side of the bracket is Thunder Rosa versus Kris Statlander, and this is the hardest one to pick of the entire tournament, men's or women's tournament. On one hand, you have Thunder Rosa, who has a story of trying to regain that world championship that she unfortunately had to vacate years ago, and doing it in her home state of Texas. On the other hand, Stat feels like she has a bit more momentum behind her and feels like she has seeds of a heel turn within her, which might pair better with Jamie Hayter and possibly with Toni Storm at All In. I'm going to give this one to Thunder Rosa, though, as I think building up this potential homecoming to fall short is a stronger story, and I think that they can get to Stat's heel turn with a first round loss still. Also in the first round on the other side of the bracket is the already finished match of Mercedes Moné versus Julia Hart, where Mercedes picked up a win in an enjoyable match at Dynasty. She'll take on the winner of Athena and Harley Cameron, and let's be honest here, we're gonna have Athena versus Mercedes in the semifinals. This match has been built up for a while now. It's definitely where we're heading, and Athena will generate a lot of heat if she defeats and pummels the big over baby face that is Harley Cameron. So our semifinals are Jamie Hayter versus Thunder Rosa on one side, and Mercedes Moné versus Athena on the other side. As I alluded to when talking about Jamie Hayter before and Thunder Rosa coming up short, I think Hayter picks up the win in this matchup. She feels like she is being built up for something big, and I think her being in the final at Double or Nothing 2 years removed from losing the title at Double or Nothing is one of the best stories that AEW could tell with this tournament. And who will she be facing? Well, Mercedes versus Athena it's another toss-up. Now, since Athena's ROH reign started in December 2022, she's lost only one straight-up singles match, and that was in the 2023 Owen Cup tournament to the eventual winner, Willow Nightingale. Athena then got her win back over Willow at Death Before Dishonor 2023, and I think that, well, like poetry, it rhymes. I feel like we're in a similar story here between Mercedes and Athena, and I don't feel like this is the last chapter in this story. Plus, via typical booking math, Athena won the showcase tag match, therefore maybe Mercedes will win the tournament match. With that in mind, I think Mercedes picks up the win here, and we see a rematch between them, with Athena winning in the not too distant future. Our Double or Nothing match is definitely pay-per-view caliber, and possibly even main event caliber. It's Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné. This is another tough one to call due to the fallout from whichever way this goes. On one hand, Jamie winning fulfills her story and sets her on the path to best Toni Storm after losing the belt to her 2 years prior. She can finally have a full-throated world title reign, and she can go to Forbidden Door in her home of London with the title, and with the division now being in the best place that it's ever been, and her having such aura behind her, it just feels right for her to be world champion. On the other hand, well, it's Mercedes Moné. We have a belt collector, and possibly the biggest match AEW can do right now on the women's side is Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné. The fallout question, thus, comes from the potential matchup from the former. If it's Jamie versus Toni, then we get Mercedes versus Athena at All In. It makes sense. It's simple, it's clean, it's easy. Everybody's happy with those two being the All In matchups for the women. If we get Toni versus Mercedes at all, and now we have ourselves a question of what it will mean for the TBS title, and if there will be a second big women's match on the card. Well, with the women's division being as good as it is and as hot as it is, I feel like there needs to be a second women's match. So when you have names like Thunder Rosa and Athena heavily promoting All In during the last few months, I think we're pretty much guaranteed to find them on the card somehow. My pet theory is we'll get a women's casino gauntlet match with a conditional prize. The match will happen after the world title match, and entrants will be going in either thinking that they're going to get the #1 contendership for the TBS title, or if Mercedes wins the world title, they'll get the TBS title straight up. And that way, you're going to be able to get all of these big name talent that AEW has been building up in the women's division on the All-In card, and you're going to have a great moment of crowning a new TBS champion. How about that? So with all of that said, I think we're headed towards Toni versus Mercedes. Again, I love Jamie Hayter, and I think she has a huge presence about her. She has aura, as I've said before, that they need to get her a big reign right now. They do. But I also think they could achieve that via the women's gauntlet idea and give her the TBS title while also moving Mercedes to the world title program. It's the biggest women's match AEW can do right now. And with them doing the same kind of concept in the men's division with Omega versus Okada, I think they're going to pull the trigger on Toni versus Mercedes as well. What do you think of my women's Owen Cup prediction? Who do you think will win the tournament? Let me know in the comments below and subscribe if you haven't. This has been another Pinning Predicament.